Oh, this is actually a decent going first hand. It ain't great, but it's not bad. Summon a set. You know what? We play in a Lightning Storm with this deck. I almost forgot. You always play into the Lightning Storm because you're just so much weaker if you don't. There's no point in stacking my deck when I'm just going to search stuff. I want to activate that at the end of the next main phase. They'd probably... My opponent's shaking right now. They're trembling. They're like, oh god, it's Outlich. I didn't open any good cards. Nah. We ain't Outlich.
Oh no.
We just... GG. Yeah. They weren't shaking. They weren't scared. They weren't scared at all. They weren't. There was no intimidation. In fact, I was scared. I was projecting. I was fearful. I thought my opponent was scared. I was a little bit fearful. All right. You know, Dark Magician Girls. For all of us who are not only Yugi boomers, and not only down bad, but absolutely down horrendous. Really cool archetype, really fun style to play. It's an absolute blast getting into Dark Magician Girls. Could you alternatively just run Dark Magician and have a better deck? Maybe, but at that point you might as well be playing Drytrons, and we aren't a bunch of nerds here that play Drytron. We are a bunch of nerds, but we're here to have fun, and we're here to play with some Dark Magician Girls. That's gonna get me on a list. Anyways, this is an archetype that I've spent way too long optimizing. This is the first archetype that I ever finished building. This was my first complete deck. Even though Sky Strikers is the first deck I ever began building, this is the first list that I finished. I ended up taking it to a locals, and I got destroyed by Full Power Spirals, and, hilariously enough, Herald of Perfection. It was in a fairy deck, though. It was not... Drytrons were not out yet. A very funny story. But... regardless, it's a very fun deck. I've spent years at this point making tweaks and changes to this deck, making it, tuning it. I still don't, in person, my list is very different because this deck is very expensive and I am very poor. But this is a very fun list, and in Master Duel, I can make the best version possible of it with still being a true Dark Magician Girl deck. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If there's any archetype that you care to see, again, let me know down below. A bunch of the videos I've already made on the channel are because people requested it, including the How to Play Legendary Fisherman that you can watch above if you're interested. But just let me know what you feel. Say anything in the comments. If you don't like the video, honestly, you trash talk me. I just like getting comments. But let's get into one of the archetypes that I'm the most passionate about and one of my absolute favorites in the game. Nobody requested this one, but this one was a long time coming, and I wasted way too many gems on this. Let's get right into the deck list. Timestamps down below if you're impatient. You thought the timestamp would lead you to a deck list, but instead it was me asking you to subscribe and leave a comment down below. The comments mean a lot to me. I put a lot of effort into these videos, so if you don't have something to comment, honestly, be a degenerate like me and be down horrendous and tell me what your favorite Magician Girl is, either playstyle-wise or artwork-wise. Mine is definitely Lemon. Anyways, now I'll stop wasting time and I'll get you into the deck list. Sorry about that, but thank you. Alright, for real, hopping into the deck list now, we're gonna go kind of fast because this is a deck list that I could talk about for ages. I have spent a lot of time optimizing this deck list. I absolutely love this deck, and I've spent so much time messing around with it and making the best possible version of it. So let's get into it. We ran 3 copies of the Dark Magician. This is mandatory. You have to run the full-powered Dark Magician engine. Without the Dark Magician spine, this deck just does not function at all, which is a very sad thing, but again, the Dark Magicians are very cool, and they're still very nostalgic. So 3 copies of Dark Magician, non-negotiable. Then 3 copies of Berry Magician Girl. This is the best Magician Girl, and it's the reason why she's the only one that we run at 3. Not only is her effect the strongest because it could search any Dark Magician Girl from the deck off the summon, but it also can search itself, and there's not a lot of cards that could do that in this game. Also, her special summon when attacked, because all the Magician Girls have that little cheese when they get attacked, she can summon from deck. Her only downside is that she has, first of all, the worst artwork out of the Magician Girls. I mean, what a shame. I'm down horrendous. But also, she doesn't redirect the attack like the other Magician Girls, who can force your opponent to attack into whatever they change it to once they have their attack, which is a shame, but whatever. Hopefully, Konami gives us an errata this card with, you know, better artwork, but also with a new effect that forces the attack, because this archetype can use a lot of love, and Konami loves milking their old franchises, so why aren't they milking Dark Magician Girl? That sounded terrible. Please cut that from the video. Then we run 3 copies of Magician's Soul. This is completely mandatory. This is the only way to get Dark Magician out turn 1, and it's just so incredibly important, especially going second to get your engine started early, that you do need the Magician's Soul. It's absolutely mandatory in this deck. Maybe you could cut it down to 2, but you're handicapping yourself. You really shouldn't should have three. 3 copy of Max C, running the Rogue deck lineup, but luckily we could afford to run 3 Max Cs in this list. Max C is the best hand trap in the game, and this deck can make really powerful plays, but it needs a lot of cards in order to go off properly, so getting Max C card advantage is extremely relevant. Then we run 3 copies of Magician Raw. This is the normal summon to end all normal summons. This card basically says, our archetype's kind of bad, please play it, please enjoy this Dark Magician support. This is insanely powerful. For a normal summon, you get to search any spell or trap that mentions the Dark Magician. Now that is absolutely insane. Then we have 2 copies of Ash Blossom. Again, I like running all hand traps at 3. It is correct to run all hand traps at 3, but this is the Rogue deck lineup that I was talking about earlier, where we cut down on cards. We have to make sacrifices, and Ash Blossom has to go to 2, because it's better to run a variety of hand traps, especially running Maxi, than it is to run few of them at high amounts. Then we run 2 copies of Chocolate Magician Girl. Besides having the best artwork out of the Magician Girls, she has the second best effect. The only issue is that she does often brick, because even though she synergizes with cards like Soul Servant, she needs to discard a spellcaster, which is extremely annoying, because you run so many spells and traps that sometimes you just don't see a spellcaster in your opening hand. Then we run 1 copy of the main girl, the main boss monster, Dark Magician Girl. It's a shame we can't render it more, but she is very bricky, and you could special summon her from the graveyard as well from the deck, so there's not really a point in running multiple of these. Then we have Apprentice Illusion Magician. This is what Chocolate Magician Girl strives to be. She's also a dark-skinned Dark Magician Girl, and this makes me realize that I am absolutely down horrendously, horribly for this archetype. God damn, Konami, what did you do to me as a child? But, she special summons herself from hand, is not a once per turn, and searches Dark Magician, and again has a funny little loop where you can just discard Dark Magician to search Dark Magician. This card's insanely powerful. It sets up your graveyard. She special summons herself for XZ plays, and it's just all around amazing. This is my favorite card in the deck. This card is absolutely absurd. Dark Magic Attack, this is just bad Harpy's Feather Duster. The only reason we run this over the Feather Duster is because it is A, searchable, and B, it's Eternal Soul's second effect to search this, so Then we run 1 copy of Ayatamayas. I wish I could run this at 3, especially because it's not searchable, but it is extreme. It's very strong when you draw it and can set it up, but you don't want to brick on it either, so sadly we do need to run it at 1 copy. Now, the thing that's about Ayatamayas that you might be confused why you can't search this card off of all the cards that say search a spell or grab a spell or trap that specifically mentions the Dark Magician, is you'll notice this does not specifically mention the Dark Magician. This says target 1 Dark Magician monster. If this said target 1 Dark Magician, then it would be able to be searched, but because this says search 1 Dark Magician monster, it doesn't specifically name the Dark Magician, and that's extremely confusing for new players and extremely annoying, and another reason why this card also needs an errata. This entire archetype needs an errata. Konami! Get money! Get that bread! Reprint this archetype, but good. Then we run 1 copy of Bond Between Teacher and Student. This is another insanely powerful card. The only issue is that you already need it to be winning, so it's a bit of a win more card, but this will let you bring out the Dark Magician Girl from your deck or graveyard, and also set up the Feather Duster or the Raigeki with Feather Duster from your deck. 3 copies of Dark Magical Circle. This makes the entire deck function. It's a continuous spell that replaces itself most of the time with something else. Really powerful effect, and a Banish is insanely strong in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The only issue is that this targets. I really wish it didn't, but hey, you can't win them all. Then we run the Dark Burning Magic Attack that I already mentioned. Insanely powerful card. Just it's a hard condition to meet, but when it resolves, you win the game. 3 copies of Soul Servant. This is Sky Striker Mobilize Engage for the archetype, and that is absolutely bonkers, and I absolutely love that. It's a much harder to set up than Engage, which is the main issue with it, but hey, at the end of the day, you can't win everything, and this card is another example of please play our archetype. Then we run the 3 copies of the Magician's Navigation. This is again another insanely strong card because not only does it summon the Dark Magician and proc your Dark Magical Circle on your opponent's turn, it also can special summon Apprentice Illusion Magician, which is usually what you're targeting when you do that. Now, the really neat part about that is that when you summon her, she doesn't need to be summoned off her effect in order to search a Dark Magician, so it just gets you a free draw. Also, the turn after, when this card is in the graveyard, you can activate it to negate any face-up spell or trap. So if your opponent activates a card like Raigeki or Extravagance, you can negate it. This is so strong, and I think that it needs to be run at 3 because all of its effects are insanely powerful. 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Again, negating a monster effect is really strong, especially against decks like Shrine Brigade. It's activatable from hand. And And again, the rogue list matchup with only 2 hand traps of the different kinds. 1 copy of Eternal Soul. I very much hate this card. I absolutely detest this card, but it stays on field, and that's what makes it so valuable. If your opponent can't deal with it, you're going to be absolutely destroying them. Issues that most decks can deal with it, and it will nuke your board when it gets dealt with, and that's just absolutely annoying, because typically with this deck, you have about 4 or 5 monsters at the field at any given time when you're in a dominating position, and losing your entire board to an MST feels absolutely horrible, and it's very hard to protect. So we have to run it, but I don't like running it. Then we run a 1 copy of Magician's Combination. This is very much a win more card, and this is definitely one of the biggest options for what you can cut for another Magician Girl. But this is a very strong negate. It's just very hard to set up. But if you manage to set this up, you're basically locking a really solid spot for yourself, because this deck has so many interruptions. Then we don't run the other Magician Girls because they make the deck worse, but if you really insist, 1 copy of Lemon, 1 copy of Apple, or even third a copy of Chocolate is really strong. I think that Kiwi is the absolute worst one, and it should be the last one you consider, but these aren't bad at 1. The issue is that there's just no room in this deck, and I refuse to run a deck over 40 because it will make my deck objectively a million times worse. So while it is a bummer, I'm not running them on the list, but you can feel free if you're playing more casual games, especially against friends, cut back on the hand traps and run these cards. Then we run 1 copy of Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight just to hit off of the Ayatameus, because sometimes you only have Dark Magician Girl on the field when you want to activate it. But this card is very much probably the most cuttable card in the extra deck next to the Ebon High Magician. So, but her effect is pretty decent. It's just not good. 1 Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. This is the main target you're going to be focusing on if you manage to set up Eternal Soul, because it'll protect Eternal Soul, and then Eternal Soul inversely will protect the Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. It's very hard to get these both on the field, but if you do, you're in a very solid spot. Dark Magicians, this is the main thing you're going to be hitting in general with the Ayatamayas. This is an insanely strong card. It lets you activate spells and traps during your turn if you happen to draw them, and you can stack your deck again with cards like Soul Servant. So it is just a really good card. If we were playing pure Dark Magicians, we'd run 3. We turbo this out a lot easier, but again, sacrificing a bit of strength to play something fun with the Magician Girls. Photon Strike Bouncer, you completely dump out a lot of materials for XZ, so having the monster negate is very strong. Alternatively, you don't want the monster negate with making them with cards like Ebon Apprentice Illusion Magician. You could run Norito the Moral Leader. Then we run a Big Eye. Stealing your opponent's monster is extremely annoying, especially when you get to keep it. It's a good way to steal boss monsters. Ebon Illusion Magician doesn't come up that often, but sometimes you just need to summon a Dark Magician from the deck for something like Dark Magical Circle. Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon. This is something nice to make with Dark Magicians as long as you have another one in graveyard and don't lock yourself out of summoning them, but it's really nice to have your opponent take burn damage just for breathing. It's like Trickstars, but more annoying. Then we run Ebon High Magician. This sometimes comes up. This is another really cuttable card in the extra deck, but it's convenient enough. Divine Arsenal Zeus is an insanely strong card. It's not at all necessary in the deck, and most of the time you won't be able to activate it because your deck relies so heavily on back row. It's very difficult to find an opportunity to do so, but it's just such a powerful card that it needs to be run. Zeus will win you games sometimes that you shouldn't win. You're so easy to make Xyz that why not run Zeus? Nightmare Phoenix for the generic nightmares for dealing with floodgates. Asua just lets us link crime, and since Berry is very sticky and annoying to deal with because her effect goes off if she gets attacked or targeted, then Asua is usually something you can make pretty easily unless you link climb. Nightmare Unicorn, again, dealing for sticky things. Celine is very easy to make with this deck and very strong because, again, she is a spellcaster and you run a lot of spells. Then you run Access Code because it's really easy to climb with Asua into Celine into Access Code, and Access Code is just a great finishing play. And that's the list. I'm mad I forgot to hit record. My intro bit would have been funny. Ooh, actually seeing the Magician Girls in my little Magician Girl deck could not be me. I'm going to open with Magical Circle because it'll help me decide if I want to go for the Chocolate Magician Girl instead. Because although Chocolate Magician Girl is weaker, the Circle will let me stack my deck. And this, because I have the Magician's Navigation, is actually insanely powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and actually go for the Chocolate. It also lets me send my Magician's Rod to the graveyard, which is fine because, again, this card can special summon itself. I mean, re-add itself to hand. It'd be nice if it could special summon itself. Maybe this archetype would be good. Is it Eldritch again? Nay! Drytrons! Can I be Drytrons going first? Probably not. If he summons Alpha first, I'm gonna banish it immediately and maybe I could stand a rat's chance. Then I have the Imperm for the Herald. Ooh! We gonna cook Drytron for this little video? Cyber Dragons! Nay! Oh, I don't play stuff in the extra deck. Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't care about that. And I have no machines, so you know what? Pop off, King. Go ahead, make your little Cyber Dragons. I ain't destroying. What is this? I've never seen this. I don't like this. Oh, I really hope that doesn't destroy back row. I mean, I'm fine if it does. I wanted to face a Drytron. I had a board that could destroy Drytron. What is this? Yeah. Go ahead, Infusion. Yeah, this is what I thought. So the Overfleet's gonna go off trying to pop my back row. I'm not gonna stand for nonsense like this. I'm gonna go ahead and just imperm this tiny attack fool. Get out of my face. You can't stop an imperm. Get out of my face. You wish you could stop an imperm. Nice attack, bro! This is tempting. And by this is tempting, I mean I'm gonna do it. Boop! Keeping the chocolate, because again, chocolate has an effect. And not only does she have a redirect effect, which makes it like super unpleasant to attack into, but we can also resummon the dark-skinned Dark Magician Girl, which, I need to stop being down bad, which lets, 250 stones, interesting. I'm gonna go on the, which lets me, search another Dark Magician, but I'm gonna assume what he set second is more important, because you wouldn't set something relevant first, right? Right, big brain? I think I need to draw here. Yeah, no, because I could just get Dark Magician Girl out for free. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the circle, getting my little banish on this new little back row card. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw. You know, we're just going to prove that Duel Monsters is infinitely superior to GX, because I've never seen somebody run Cybernetic Overflow. I'm not even going to read that. We're just going to prove what series is better here real quick. Because we all know, at the end of the day... Also, against Cyber Dragons, never play anything in the extra monster zones if you can, because then they will just Chimera Fleet you. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this, though. Because I'm just gonna set the other one. Sad day, what was be me? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and Magician's Rod here. Magician's Rod activates, which allows me to search any spell or trap that specifically mentions the Dark Magician. So not itemize. Nay! Lost wins! Wait! I was gonna pop the back row first! Why? Wait, what did they target? The Apprentice of... I mean, I could have negated that. It was all a huge bait. I was acting for the YouTube, but I mean... If you're gonna negate the wrong card, go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Bond first. That way I could save all of the souls to draw 2 cards instead. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Bond between teacher and student, one of my favorite cards in the deck. We're going to bring out a little Dark Magician Girl, and this is going to let me set a card, which is also coincidentally going to shuffle my deck, which now means that Chocolate might draw something somewhat decent. So we're going to head and pitch that, get that Eternal Soul. I know I said somewhat decent, but I wanted at least like mildly playable. We're going to go ahead, you know what, we'll get our licks in with the actual Dark Magician Girl monsters. You have something? I didn't read. Oh, that just lets you add. I wasn't even scared. Y'all see sweat? Because I wasn't sweating. That wasn't me. Is this not lethal? Oh, but it is. Wow, I'm really bad at math. Who's going to finish this off? You know what? It's a Dark Magician Girl deck, not a Dark... It is a Dark Magician Girl's deck. Get your licks in, Dark Magician Girl. Do your thing. Why doesn't she have a summon animation, by the way? Anyways, that was pretty fast. I'm gonna hop into a game 2. There's a lot of Drytron going around today. And what's the most infuriating part is I can't even use the matches where I beat Drytron because Drytron players are like the Wild Wild West Rangers. Like, they got the quickest draw in the world. Oh, this is a really good hand. They have the quickest draw in the world. Like, these players are absurd. Like, I've never seen players concede faster than Drytron players losing to a meme deck. Like, not only have I faced an absurd amount... Verte? Oh, Sieger. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Weird. You never see people going to Sieger because Sieger isn't good. Was this Hertz or Nochester? Hertz is the one that turns into a level 5. I don't know, Cyber Dragon cards. Yeah, Cyber Repair Plan's fine, that's searchable. Just no machine dupe. I will be very, very salty at a machine duplication. Because the issue with the fusion as well is that the fusion resolves before the Dark Magical Circle would. What is that? Hello? What did you just grab? Veer? That's not a real card. Okay, that's fine. I have never seen this card before. Weird. Okay, so he's gonna bring some... Okay, that back out. To bring out Veer? What are you making? You need a level 5. I'm so confused. Cyber Dragon players confuse me to no bounds. You can't even make Infinity. How do you play Cyber Dragons and not make Infinity, foo? Yes, ranked reset is a scary, scary thing. It's a terrifying dark world down here. I'm less intimidated seeing Tritron players than I am seeing somebody playing anything in gold. Yeah, it's a little bit too much damage for me. And the fusion monster doesn't do anything. Again, those cards only exist to contact fuse away your opponent's stuff. The fact that they didn't go for that is legitimately a tad silly. But I'm not here to cast Judgment. I'm going to summon this and attack just so they have to full trade if they want to... Ooh, that's really nice. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and Dark Magical Circle first. Banishing this. Then we're going to grab the Magician's Rod back. I don't know what I want to destroy here particularly. It's probably the Apprentice Illusion. There's reason to want the Dark Magician in Graveyard. But there's not. Putting the Dark Magician in Graveyard would be dumb. Because I don't have a way on board to bring it out easily. No, it's not on the field anymore! I'm the worst. Oh, I'm bad. I mean, sacrifices had to be made to get the Magician's Rod back. Yeah. Yahoo! Ahuzza! So, cards can, and I know this ruling, cards cannot resolve if they are not in the area where they meet said resolution at the time of resolution. Meaning that because this is kind of confusing, meaning that because when her chain would have started, if I would have chained it differently, it would have been fine. I should have chained her first, but because she was no longer on field for me to activate her effect couldn't go off. So if I would have used her first, then the Dark Magical Circle, then the Rod, everything would have resolved fine. That was just a big boo-boo on my part. So I'm gonna go ahead and Aya Timaeus, and if I had the copy of if I had the stone in the background, I would summon the Dragon Knight just to protect my field. But since I do not, I will go ahead and bring out the Dark Magicians instead, because this will allow me to just draw monster cards. Anything I get off this will be activatable this turn. So I'm gonna go ahead and I can put the one from the graveyard. I'm gonna put the Magician's Navigation on top, just because it's gonna wombo combo with the Dark Magicians. This is gonna go ahead and draw that, which is gonna let me set it to the field, and now I can activate this turn, which again, kinda bonkers. So that's gonna let me summon Dark Magician to my field. And instead of getting the Apprentice Illusion Magician to search, because I have the souls in the graveyard, which is going to let me draw, I'm going to go ahead and summon Dark Magician Girl, because now I get 2 draws. I'm going to banish this one, because you never want to enter battle phase with that on the field, because it will absolutely demolish your day. On between teacher and student to bring out another Dark Magician Girl. One of the reasons it's decent run too. Then I'll just grab this for next turn because they don't have any spells or traps. Nay! Dark Magicians is a little bit too powerful. I was slow playing a little bit because I was describing things. But, yeah, you know, Cyber Dragon's never going to match up to the might of Season 1. I mean, Season 2 is cool and all, you know, GX, get your game on, right? But is it Duel Monsters? Is it Duel Monsters? Konami knows where the support's at. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of Dark Magician Girls. Again, not with the most powerful deck in the world, but it is an extremely fun one. And I do think it is competent enough to hit Plat 1. I actually hit Plat 1 with my Egyptian God deck linked above. this season, so if that deck can hit it, this deck's a million times better. But thank you for watching. Again, if you have any suggestions, let me know if it's about something you want to see in Archetype or just in general, something you thought about the video. I love getting any comments that I could get. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. Please drop a subscribe and please drop a comment. And if you don't, then they will never make new support for the Dark Magician Girls archetype. And you wouldn't want that, right? Look her in the eyes and tell her you'd want that. Anyways, thank you for watching, and again, this is Rojas signing out.